In today's video, we're going to be talking about my current sketching slash note-taking setup or system. We're going to be looking at each of its components, how they interrelate with each other, their particular purpose in making this system work and making it more efficient for me to capture my ideas. And we're also going to end with a few changes that I want to try about my system in the near future. Hello, everyone. My name is Simon. I'm a designer, design professor, and design theorist. And on this channel, I'm taking a holistic view at the whole world of design, from its theory to its lifestyle. I actually have 3 different systems that help me sketch slash note take to be able to develop my ideas. The first one revolves around the tracing paper. This one I use for whenever I have an idea that I actually know that I want to develop, but I still haven't explored enough to feel confident that I'm moving forward with the right parameters of that design. So I take this one to parse it out, explore its iterations before actually committing to any one direction and enacting on it. The second one revolves around the iPad and the Apple Pen. And of course, it is a digital setup. So the workflow and its components all revolve around a few apps. And I mostly use this one, of course, is if I want to digitally document something. This is a great tool when I need to communicate any design idea with any of the online groups I work with. And of course, the third option, the one that we're going to be basing this video around, the most important and most efficient one, in my opinion, the notebook. So this notebook in particular, this is my current notebook. This is a Moleskine 8.25 by 5 inches. Hardcover, black color, has an elastic band to secure the closure of the notebook page marker. It has a very, very handy back pocket, which is very nice. The pages themselves are smooth, so they're not textured. They're not white. They're actually an ivory color. And they have at least this particular one has a pattern of a dotted grid line. Very, very light pattern. I have gone through more than a few types of notebooks to actually get to this one. So for example, the big art notebooks, smaller one, itty bitty tiny one, and now I am on this one. The size is just, at least for me, the right size to be able to, if I just want to walk with nothing else but my notebook, it is really comfortable, very light, easy to just drop in my backpack. The size of the pages are also very, very good. They're not too small, they're not too big. For sketching, for note taking, they're perfect. I usually just use a page vertically at a time, but there has been some cases where I just need a big old page, and then you can use it in this orientation. The pattern itself, the dotted grid line pattern, it has been very, very helpful because you actually have some type of reference that you can use to create perspectives, any type of unit or scale system. But what's good about this is that the actual pattern is very, very light. So whenever you actually draw something on it, it just fades away. The grid line itself, the dotted grid line, because it's not a full-on grid line, takes a backseat visually speaking. So let's start with the mechanical pen. And this is a Uniball Kuru Toga 0.5 millimeter mechanical pen. I like this pen for a few reasons. Because of its composition of the material, like the steel component, what I say, it has gravitas to it, right? You feel that you're handling something and it feels nice. At the bottom of the barrel, where the geometry of it just becomes a little wider, it's also very comfortable. The overall experience of handling this pencil just gets heightened a little bit by the very nice quality ridges and texture. So, you just with it, you just know that you're grabbing the pen right. The key component of why I went with this pencil was because of the auto rotation system that it has. What this is that whenever you apply pressure to the tip, there's a spring there. So when you lift off the pressure, it actually just turns a little bit. So you avoid those flat tips on the lead, which is really nice when you're drawing because you have a consistent line weight. next utensil that I use is a Pilot High-Tech C pen. This one I mostly use for writing. My mechanical pencil, that Kurutoga, is for drawing exclusively. I just don't like to write with lead. It just doesn't pop out. It's not very clear, especially with this type of notebook, which doesn't have it has non-white paper. So with this one, I mostly use for writing. So the material of the whole pen, yes, it is plastic. It feels very cheap. It does have some ridges. They're very shallow, almost unnoticeable, but they're there. But do not be mistaken by my very, very negative first impression based on the materiality and basic construction of it. Because this pen actually won in 2012 the Good Design Award. And it's all about the system right here in the tip. This is a ballpoint system, but this pen, what makes it really good, at least for me, to write with, fully flowing out ink or it's not. So it's either on or off, which is really good for writing, but it's not good at all for drawing because you can't get those tentative lines before you commit to any particular line in that sketch. The ballpoint itself is a 0.4 millimeter, which also works really, really well with my hand stroke because I like to write within the lines provided to me by the grid line, and they tend to be a hair too small. So I'm actually able to get a good definition with this tip, with this notebook. Now, my last utensil, if you would, that I use to write with is a Sharpie felt tip pen. This is a 0.4 millimeter tip, but because it's a felt tip, it differs from the ballpoint. So the actual line weight that comes out of this is considerably thicker than on a ballpoint pen, even though they're the same. So this one I actually don't primarily use for anything. I don't write with this primarily. I don't draw with this primarily. I actually use this to highlight on my pages. So with this one, I do write out my titles, dates, quotes, keywords, sentence I want to really pop out of the page, as well as creating, shadows or profiles or details in my drawings. I would say this is the core component of my current sketching system or sketching/note-taking system. But I also want to talk about some of the peripherals that are incorporated into my system because I think they are key. First is a pen sleeve. As you might have noticed when I was talking about the specifications of the notebook, this notebook, and I think none of the Moleskine notebooks actually have any type of pen holder or pen sleeve incorporated to it. And something that I actually liked from one of my previous notebooks was that it had an integrated pen sleeve. So because this didn't have it, I had to look for an alternative. So I bought this one, which has been really good. I've been using it for like 2 years now, 3 years. It's composed of an elastic band here and then a leather pen sleeve. This is handmade and it's actually really, really good quality. I mean, if you're trying to take the pen out, like the whole sleeve moves before the pen starts to budge, which is really good. And of course, the practicality of always having at least one writing utensil readily available paired with your notebook, so that way you never find yourself with an incomplete system. Small Westcott 6-inch stainless steel with cork backing ruler. For any of you, especially design students, right? You probably have used a type of scale like this, a design scale. But of course, like walking with this and taking this everywhere is of course, its size is horrible. Its cross-section geometry is outright dangerous. So of course, I tried to go with a little version of it. And of course, it helped, but it was still very, very uncomfortable because it's not flat. So I went with this one, right? And of course, I used this one to make straight lines whenever I need to. But the applicability of having a ruler as a designer is that because it has a unit measuring system, you actually can make up your own scales or actually translate a scale into your drawing. So this is very helpful when you're trying to either work out a detail, when you're actually looking to sketch something to a particular scale, or you're trying to incorporate some type of unit into a diagram. And the cool thing about this is that in the back pocket, the way I use it, this perfectly just slips in. It doesn't weigh anything, so it's not adding extra weight. It just fits perfectly into the system. The next component of my system is actually the latest addition to it, and it is pre-cut scraps of paper. I incorporated this because I've been trying to frame the way that I approach sketching and note-taking in a different way as a scrapbook, right? It is messy. It is composed of tits and bits. It is just capturing the pages however you need to capture it, but it's captured. It's there. That is the point. Instead of trying to make the documentation a perfect iteration of that documentation, right? And that's kind of like where perfect becomes the enemy of good. And that has deterred me a lot from just opening this thing and writing or drawing in it. I'm starting with a pre-cut pieces of tracing paper and musical staff paper. Now, this is helpful for me because I tend to compose music here and there, and it's really, really hard to write music having to first draw those 5 lines. And yes, I do have paper. Yes, I do have the pen. Yes, I even have a ruler in my system, but the sheer friction of it, even though it might look minute, and it probably is, but the thing is that it's just friction enough to not make me want to go through it to capture my idea. And that is a problem. That is not an efficient system for me. So I decided to just pre-cut scraps of staff paper. So whenever my inspiration hits, I am able to just pull one out, write it, and then after the fact, I just tape it to a page, and then I keep developing the idea, but the initial instance of that idea was captured. And as with the ruler, the back pocket, once again, is very, very helpful. So I just take all of these and change it like that, put it there, just fits there, flat, unnoticeable until I need it, which is very, very good. The next item, phone. And this is actually a stand-in or a representation of any type of device that you actually use. So it could be the phone. In my case, it's actually the phone, but I also have an iPad, or it could be a laptop or your PC. It's any type of device that actually gives you access to the internet or to information. So, of course, I use my phone to hear music. I like to do creative work to music. But this is also my gateway to videos, to podcasts, to articles, and to even online courses. And something that's very important is that as part of the system, you're always exposed to opportunities to hear new ideas, things that inspire you. And it doesn't even have to be a full-fledged opinion. It doesn't have to be breaking industry design concept. It could just be something that captures one of your senses. It's this whole idea of this as a scrapbook of your world, of your ideas, of the notions that interest you. You also need an audio device. So in this case, I have the Apple AirPods 2nd generation, and they're handy. They're pretty small. They are wireless. And of course, I use these to hear my music, hear my podcast, my videos, and so on. But the feature that I really want to bring to the forefront of this conversation is the noise cancellation feature. I think this feature of noise cancellation is overlooked because, of course, I used them to enhance my experience of consuming the media. But there are some times where I actually need to have all my attention, all my focus intensely at a single creative task to the point that I just can't even hear music. And having the noise cancellation, actually creating that isolated acoustic bubble, helps me to enhance the focus instead of enhancing my consumption of media. And then lastly, I have a book. Now, in this case, I'm reading, Thinking Fast and Slow from Daniel Kahneman. It's a great book, so highly, highly recommended. I'm presenting it here because 90% of the time, my notebook lives like this. It's always paired with a book. And there's just something really interesting and special about a book, not just because just one idea presented thoroughly in a comprehensible and thorough way, but the notion of the way that you consume a book versus any type of media, all of that you're consuming in a passive manner. When you're reading, for you to be able to comprehend, you have to be actively putting effort, which means that you're going to be able to capture more details, more ideas, broader concepts, new concepts that then give you higher quality opportunities to be able to react to them and capture them. Because again, remember, the system, my system at least, the way that I'm setting it up, is a system that provides the tools to capture, but it also provides and integrates the input. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I am also thinking about changing a few things in the near future. For example, I'm trying the blank pages instead of the graphic pages, but I'm keeping the exact same notebook. So I'm not changing the notebooks. I'm just trying a different uh, page, if you would. I'm also needing to change my pen holder because, of course, this holds only one pen. Now I've moved to a 3-pen system, trying a different mechanical pen with the same mechanism, but of a higher quality. I'm looking for a higher quality pen that has the same feel, that has the same mechanism as the Pilot High Tech C, but that it just has some gravitas to it. I want to incorporate a fourth pen, a fountain pen, to my system. I don't know how that's going to really work because I think that might end up replacing my Sharpie and my High Tech C Pilot, or it might just be another addition. I don't know. I'm just interested in trying it, so I want to try it. But yes, that are the things that I want to try in the near future about my system. If you liked anything that I mentioned here that I'm currently using, in the video description, I'm going to put links for your ease. If you have any comments, I would love to hear about your own setup, how you got to it. If there's anything in particular that you think I should try, because again, I'm always looking for just making my system more efficient. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. With that said, we have arrived at the end of the video. So if you found this helpful or if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and above all, if you really want to help the channel, go ahead and just share the link of the video to someone that you think is going to watch this and find it interesting. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.